All right, hey everybody. Welcome to Chapter 7, the last chapter of the year for 2020, the year of the coronavirus. Okay, so what I've done for this week is you're going to work on 7.1 through 7.3. They are all area, okay? That's what they have in common. I'm going to kind of combine these two sections, and I didn't give you a ton of actual homework. So you basically just have to figure out how to do the area of these three, and the tests will be this kind of on that. So this particular video is just on 7.1, area of parallelograms. So in the root word of parallelograms is parallel. So parallel are lines that run completely, what's the word I want to use? They run next to each other and never intersect. I'm not sure what the word was I was looking for, okay? So, in other words, this line and this line of a parallelogram will never connect. They will never intersect at any point, okay? So, I like this graphic, okay? Because this talks about the different types of, or kind of how they're ranked. So all of these things are quadrilaterals. Okay, a quadrilateral is a 2D polygon that basically has four quad for four sides. Okay, so now within the parallelograms, we have rhombus, okay, which is kind of what we're going to be working on mainly. And also, did you know that rectangles and squares are parallelograms, okay? And then in 7.3, we're going to talk about kites and trapezoids, okay? So just giving you an idea. Oh, and 7.2 is triangles, the triangle, okay? So that's what we're going to be doing, and this is kind of how they fit together. So let's go ahead. 7.1, area of parallelograms, okay? So the area of a parallelogram is the base times the height. Okay, so here's how it works. You can use any one of these, but this is kind of, what we would think of as the base. It's the bottom, right? So this is the base. And from the base, you have to take a line from the other base, drawing it down and creating a right angle. Okay, so this is key to create the right angle, and that is your height. Okay, base times that height will give you the area of a parallelogram. So this is pretty easy. Okay, that's it on that page. All right, so let's do some. Okay. Okay, so as in all geometry, you start with the formula. You just write the formula to begin. So area equals base times height. Okay, and we write that BH. Okay, so now we just have to figure out which one's the base and which one's the height. And actually, the commutative property of multiplication, it doesn't really matter. But this is our base. And again, we pick the base and we draw this. This is called an altitude. I'm going to give you guys a bunch of stuff that you don't need to know, but just to give you some vocabulary, things that you've heard of them. You drop an altitude down at a perpendicular. So this line and this line are perpendicular, whereas this line and this line are parallel, right? And also, let's use a different color. This line and this line are parallel. That's what makes it a parallelogram. Both sets of opposite sides are parallel. Okay? All right, so let's kind of clean this up and get to work. Okay, so base times height. So we have, this is our base, this is our height. I think I already wrote that, but okay, so area equals 12 times 14. And remember, we're not doing multiplication signs or even dots, really. We're just going to do 12 times 14, just like that. And that is 168, okay? Now, I'm really good at forgetting my at forgetting my units, but these are meters, and meters times meters is equal to meters squared, just like 3 times 3 is the same as 3 squared, or 4 times 4 is 4 squared. Anything times itself is just that thing squared, so multiplication. So when we add, then it would just stay meters, but since we're multiplying meters times meters, it is meters squared. Okay, so that's important to remember, especially in science. Science really gets to be sticklers about those units. Okay, so let's do a different one. Okay, so now this one, so I want to bring up that, let's come down here. Any side can be the base, okay? But, so here's some other examples, and we can look at those in a second. But, so they picked the top to be the base here. But once you do that, you still have to drop your altitude from the base or to the base, okay? And since we're going from the base down, and we're out of shape, okay? So it's okay as long as you use this parallel line down here to make sure that you have this perpendicular, this right angle here. As long as you go down to where the other base is, or the other side that is opposite the base, you can drop that down, even if it's outside of the shape. So this is a really good problem to look at because of that. Okay, so all they did was just drop it down outside of the shape. That's fine. And this is our height, and this is our base. Okay, so area equals base times height. So area is equal to 4 times, and I'm just going to make this 8.5, okay, to make it easy to put in my calculator, and I'm going to go 4 times 8.5 and get 34. And Mr. Hines forgot his units again, so this was feet, this was feet, so feet times feet is feet squared. They just kind of, I don't know, the units, I never use them. I'm pretty bad about it. I should. But just remember, basically your area is always feet squared or meters squared, whereas if it's asked for a side or a perimeter, those are going to be just regular feet, not feet squared. Okay, and it's because of the multiplication. All right, so again, I just want to look at these really quick. Any side can be the base. So here they made the base here, so I just dropped my altitude from the opposite base down to this base. This was the base here. Okay, they went to the opposite side of the base they chose, dropped the altitude down, and this was our height. Okay, here they used this one right over here, so you almost have to turn it sideways, but they went from this base down to the other base, dropped the altitude, made that 90-degree angle to figure out what that height was. Okay, so you can solve those if you like. Okay, so now we're going to find the area of a parallelogram, and in this particular one, what makes it strange is that it wants it in square inches, and yet it gave us feet. And this is super important to understand. Okay, so let's look up here. So what this is trying to do is it's trying to show me that we have yards, and we want it to be feet. Okay, so 1 yard is how many square feet? Well, think about it. A square yard is yards times yards, right? Yards times yards. And if we convert these yards to feet, then that would be 3 feet times 3 feet, which is 9 feet squared. Okay, and they say you can use this to convert it, others to do other similar conversions, okay? So I did it down here, okay? So in the exact same way, 1 foot squared is feet times feet, right? That's exactly like if this was 3 squared, right? That would equal 3 times 3. That's all, you know? So it's the same idea as that. So we have feet times feet, which is, we want it to be in inches. So 12 inches, so I've substituted this foot for 12 inches. 12 inches times 12 inches is 144 inches squared. Okay, so let's remember that when we solve this problem, okay? So just remember, this basically tells you, I think, the only two that you'll need to know. which is that thought I had my laser, that this square yard was 9 square feet, and that a square foot is 144 square inches. You can remember that, but this is why. Okay, so now let's use this. So what do we do first? Hopefully you're saying to yourself, write the formula, because this is geometry, and that's what we do. So the area equals base times height. So the area equals the base, which is here, and my height is going to be the 2. So we have the base of 2.5. I'm going to remember my feet times the height of, I started to write height. The height of 2 feet. And when I multiply those together, I get 5 feet squared. Hopefully you remembered the squared as you were thinking this through. Okay, so am I done? No, because remember, square inches is what it wants, and I have square feet. So we're going to remember how to do unit conversions, okay? We take our 5 feet squared, and we're going to multiply it times the conversion factor. You remember this? And now, I want to, sorry, I forgot my squared. Okay, so I want to get rid of feet squared, and I want inches. So remember, when I'm doing this, I want this to be on the bottom so that those cancel, right? Because I want to cancel my feet squared. And so 1 square foot equals 144, and that's supposed to be squared too. I'm forgetting things. Sorry, guys. Okay, so now I'm going to go 5 times 144, right? And my feet squared have canceled, so that's all I had to do, was just basically multiply it. But I want to keep reminding you of how we do these unit conversions and why. So that's 720 square inches. Okay, I'm checking my math. Times 5. Yep, 720 square inches. And that is my answer. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to do one, a modeling problem. Okay, and just in general, I want to go over some of these things. Okay, so step 1 is always you want to read the problem. So let's read the problem together. The area of the parallelogram shaped forest. So this is a forest, and it's in the shape of a forest bordered by roads is 99,000 square yards. What is the length of the deer trail? Okay, so what is this? This is a parallelogram. What does it want? What does it want? What does it give me? What does it give me? Right? So it's a parallelogram. It wants to know this deer trail right here, this section right here, okay? And it gives me this side of the parallelogram. Okay, so basically here's my parallelogram. Let's draw it. Okay, and it wants this part. Okay, so what it did was it gave me the area. Okay, so let's use our formula, right? Area equals base times height. It gave us the area. The area is 99,000 square yards, right? Square yards, yep. I'm not going to put it on there, my units here. 99,000, and my base was 660, and my height, I don't know. So what do? I use a variable. And now all we have to do is solve it. So when I look at this is 660 times h. In order to get rid of that, I need to divide. The opposite operation of multiply is divide. So if I divide both sides by 660, I end up with h is equal to 99,000 divided by 660 on my calculator, and I get 150, okay? And that is 150 yards, okay? 150 yards. that is the... And now, the last thing I want to do was solve and check it. Does that make sense? Okay, so if this is 660 yards, does it make sense that this little bit is 150? I think that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so we move on. And that's where we're going to be for our next video. So, see you in the next video.